What happens when Hollywood royalty meets daytime television royalty, and the cameras capture every single second of an exchange so explosive that security had to get involved? In just 31 seconds, one comment would turn a friendly interview into the most talked about moment in daytime TV history. Kelly Ripa sat across from her guest, smiling that warm smile that had made her America's favorite morning host for over 2 decades. The studio audience buzzed with excitement. This was supposed to be a light-hearted conversation, the kind Kelly did every single day with grace and charm. But something felt different from the very start. Meghan walked onto the set with an air that immediately caught the attention of everyone in the room. There was confidence, sure, but there was something else. Something that made the producers glance at each other nervously from behind the cameras. Kelly stood to greet her guest, extending her hand with genuine warmth. "Welcome, welcome. We are so excited to have you here today." The handshake was brief, almost dismissive. Meghan settled into her chair, crossing her legs and looking around the studio as if she was inspecting it. "So," Kelly began, her voice bright and welcoming, "thank you so much for being here. Our audience has been looking forward to this all week." Meghan tilted her head slightly. "Yes, well, I do have a very busy schedule, so let's make this quick." The audience went quiet. That wasn't the usual banter. Kelly's smile never wavered, though. She was a professional. She had handled difficult guests before. Of course, Kelly said smoothly. "Let's jump right in then. I want to talk about your latest project. It sounds absolutely fascinating." "It is," Meghan replied flatly, "though I'm not sure your audience would fully understand it. It's quite sophisticated." A few people in the audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Kelly blinked but maintained her composure. "Well, we have a very smart audience here, so why don't you tell us about it?" Meghan sighed, as if the question itself was tedious. "It's a multimedia initiative focused on elevating voices that matter. Real voices, not just morning show fluff." The word fluff hung in the air like a slap. Kelly's co-host, who was sitting off to the side, visibly tensed. The crew members exchanged wide-eyed glances. Kelly laughed lightly, trying to diffuse the tension. "Well, I'd like to think we do more than fluff here, but I appreciate you sharing. Can you tell us more about who you're working with on this?" "Visionaries," Meghan said simply. "People who actually want to make a difference, not just entertain housewives between loads of laundry." The audience gasped. Someone in the front row actually said, "Oh my God," loud enough for the microphones to pick up. Kelly's smile finally faltered, just for a split second, before she pulled it back together. "I see," Kelly said, her voice still measured, but with a new edge to it. "Well, many of those housewives you're referring to are incredibly accomplished people who also happen to enjoy a little entertainment in their morning. There's nothing wrong with that." Meghan waved her hand dismissively. "If you say so." I just think television has the power to do so much more than what you do here. No offense." "None taken," Kelly said, though her jaw was noticeably tighter now. "But I'm curious if you feel that way about morning television. Why did you agree to come on the show today?" The question was direct. Fair. And it clearly wasn't what Meghan expected. "Excuse me?" Meghan said, her eyes narrowing. "What kind of question is that?" "It's a genuine question," Kelly continued, her voice calm but firm. "If you think what we do here is beneath you or not meaningful, I'm just wondering why you're here. We have plenty of guests who would love this opportunity and who respect what we do." The studio went completely silent. Even the camera operators seemed to freeze. This was not how daytime talk shows usually went. The makeup artists standing in the wings had their hands over their mouths. One of the producers was frantically typing on his tablet, probably messaging the network executives. Meghan shifted in her seat, uncrossing and recrossing her legs. "I think you're taking this a bit too personally, Kelly." "Am I?" Kelly asked, tilting her head. "Because you've called my show fluff. You've insulted my audience. You've dismissed everything we do here. That feels pretty personal to me. I was simply making an observation about the state of daytime television in general, Meghan said, her tone dripping with condescension. It's not my fault if you feel attacked by facts. A few audience members actually gasped at that. Someone whispered, "Oh no, she didn't," loudly enough for the microphones to catch. Kelly's smile was gone now, and replaced with something harder. Facts? Okay, let's talk about facts. Fact. You agreed to come on this show to promote your project. Fact. From the moment you sat down, you've been nothing but dismissive and rude. Fact. You're now trying to backtrack and pretend you weren't being deliberately insulting. Does that sound about right? Meghan's face hardened. Are you seriously questioning me right now? Do you know who I am? Kelly didn't miss a beat. Of course I do. That's why we invited you. But respect goes both ways, don't you think? Respect? Meghan's voice rose. You want to talk to me about respect? You, sitting here on your little couch, asking your little questions, want to lecture me about respect? Yes, Kelly said simply. I do. Because respect isn't about how famous you are or what you've done. It's about how you treat other people. And right now, you're treating everyone in this room like we're beneath you. Meghan laughed, but there was no humor in it. This is unbelievable. I came here to talk about important work, real work, and you're making this about your hurt feelings. It's not about my feelings, Kelly replied, her voice steady. It's about basic human decency, something you seem to have forgotten. The audience murmured in agreement. A few people started clapping, but Kelly raised her hand to quiet them. She wanted to handle this herself. Meghan leaned forward, her eyes flashing. You have no idea what I've sacrificed, what I've been through, what I've accomplished. I've done more for important causes in 1 year than you've done in your entire career, sitting on this couch asking celebrities about their workout routines. The audience was in shock. A few people booed. Others sat with their mouths open, unable to believe what they were witnessing. Kelly raised her hand to quiet them, staying remarkably composed despite the attack. That may be your perspective, Kelly said evenly, and you're entitled to it. But I've been doing this for 23 years. I've raised millions for charity through this show. I've given voices to people who needed to be heard. I've made people laugh during difficult times. And yes, I've asked about workout routines too, because sometimes people just need something light. There's no shame in that. Meghan scoffed. You're a morning show host. Entertainment. But what I do actually changes lives. And what I do doesn't, Kelly asked, her voice rising slightly. The mother who watches while feeding her baby and gets a moment to smile? That doesn't matter. The person going through chemotherapy who finds joy in our show? That's nothing. The thousands who've donated to our charity drives, their contributions don't count? Meghan rolled her eyes. You're being dramatic. No, Kelly said firmly. I'm being honest. Something you have a problem with. Meghan stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. I don't have to sit here and be lectured by you. Kelly remained seated, looking up at her guest with remarkable calm. You're absolutely right. You don't. But you did agree to be here, and you've spent the last 5 minutes insulting me, my show, and my audience. So I think the lecture is actually going the other way. This is ridiculous, Meghan snapped, her voice getting louder. I'm a guest on your show. You're supposed to make me feel welcome, not attack me. Attack you? Kelly stood up now too, facing her guest. I asked you a simple question about why you're here if you have such contempt for what we do. That's not an attack. That's a fair question. You've been hostile from the start, Meghan shot back. That's not true, and you know it, Kelly said, her voice still controlled, but with an edge now. I welcomed you warmly. I smiled. I tried to make you comfortable. You're the one who came in with an attitude. Meghan looked around at the audience, then at the cameras, as if searching for support. She found none. This is a setup. You brought me here just to make me look bad. Kelly actually laughed at that, a short, disbelieving sound. A setup? Meghan, you're doing this to yourself. Every word out of your mouth has been condescending and rude. I didn't make you say any of those things. This is ridiculous, Meghan snapped. She looked at the producers standing in the wings. Are you going to let her talk to me like this? Seriously? I want to speak to whoever is in charge here. One of the producers, visible just off camera, spoke up. Kelly is the host. She can conduct her interview however she sees fit. That's absurd, Meghan said, her face flushing even redder. She's being completely unprofessional. The producer, a woman who'd been working in television for 30 years, stepped closer to the edge of the stage. Actually, from what I've seen, Kelly has been nothing but professional. She's asked you questions. She's tried to engage with you. You're the one who's been insulting everyone. Meghan whirled around to face her. I don't even know who you are. I'm the executive producer of this show, the woman said calmly. And I'm telling you that if anyone's been unprofessional here, it's you. The audience erupted in applause. Meghan looked shocked that even the producers weren't on her side. Meghan's face flushed red. She pointed at Kelly, her finger shaking. You are small-minded. This whole show is small-minded. Everyone who works here is small-minded. I came here as a favor, and this is how you treat me? Kelly finally stood up, and there was something different in her demeanor now. She wasn't angry. She was done. A favor? Kelly repeated quietly, almost dangerously. You came here because your publicist booked you to promote your project. That's not a favor. That's how this works. That's how television works. That's how publicity works. You need us just as much as we agreed to have you on. I don't need anyone, Meghan spat. Clearly, Kelly said dryly. That attitude is really working out well for you right now. The audience laughed at that, a sharp, collective sound. Meghan looked like she'd been slapped. And as for how I'm treating you, Kelly continued, her voice getting stronger, I welcomed you warmly. I asked you respectful questions. I tried to have a conversation with you. You're the one who came in here with an attitude and decided to disrespect not just me, but everyone who works on this show and everyone watching at home. Every single person who woke up early to be in this audience today, you insulted them. Every crew member who worked hard to make this show happen, you dismissed them. So no, I don't think I'm the problem here. How dare you, Meghan hissed, her voice low and venomous. How dare I? Kelly's voice was still controlled, but there was steel in it now. How dare you walk onto my stage and act like you're doing us some kind of service by being here? How dare you insult my audience? People who are kind and good and just wanted to hear about your work. How dare you dismiss the work that we do? Work that brings joy to millions of people every single day. You want to talk about elevating voices? Maybe start by not talking down to people. Maybe start by recognizing that there's value in all kinds of work, in not just the work you deem important enough. Meghan grabbed her purse from beside the chair, her hands trembling with rage. I'm leaving. I'm done with this. That's probably for the best, Kelly said simply, her arms crossed. But Meghan wasn't done. She couldn't leave it alone. She turned back, her face twisted with anger, her voice rising to a near shout. You know what your problem is, Kelly? You're jealous. You've been doing this pathetic little show for decades, and you're still just a morning host. Meanwhile, I've accomplished more real things than you ever will. I've made a real impact. I've changed lives. What have you done? Made people laugh while they drink their coffee? That's your legacy? The audience erupted in boos now, loud and sustained. People were on their feet. Someone threw a wadded-up piece of paper toward the stage. Kelly held up her hand again, and slowly they quieted down, though the anger in the room was palpable. If that's what you need to believe, Kelly said, her voice cutting through the noise like a knife, then believe it. Tell yourself whatever story you need to tell yourself to feel superior. But I'm not jealous of someone who treats people the way you've treated everyone in this room today. I'm not jealous of someone who thinks success means looking down on others. Success isn't just about what you accomplish. It's about how you treat people along the way. It's about kindness. It's about respect. It's about remembering that everyone you meet is fighting their own battle and deserves to be treated with dignity. And based on what we've all witnessed here, based on your behavior and your words and your complete lack of empathy or self-awareness, I'll take my pathetic little show and my 2 decades of treating people with respect over whatever it is you think you have any day of the week. Meghan's mouth opened and closed. She seemed genuinely at a loss for words for the first time since she'd arrived. Her face was scarlet, her chest heaving with angry breaths. "You can't talk to me like that," she finally managed, her voice shaking. "You have no right." "I have every right," Kelly replied calmly. "This is my show, my stage, and I have every right to stand up for myself and my team when someone comes in here and acts the way you've acted." "I'm going to make sure everyone knows about this," Meghan threatened. "I'm going to tell everyone how you treated me." "Please do," Kelly said without hesitation. Tell them exactly what happened here, because we have cameras rolling. We have witnesses. We have an entire audience who saw everything. So yes, please, tell your version of events. I'm sure it will be very enlightening." The audience applauded again. They were completely on Kelly's side, and Meghan could see it, could feel it, and it was clearly eating her alive. "This isn't over," Meghan said, her voice shaking with rage. "You haven't heard the last of this." "Actually, it is," Kelly said firmly. She looked toward the wings, her voice clear and authoritative. "Can we get someone to escort our guest out, please? I think we're done here." 2 security personnel appeared from the side of the stage. They were professional, calm, their faces neutral. They didn't touch Meghan, but their presence was clear. This was no longer a request. This was an instruction. Meghan looked at them, her eyes wide with disbelief. "You're having me escorted out? Like I'm some kind of criminal?" "You're being asked to leave because you've been disrespectful and disruptive," Kelly said simply. "That's all this is." "Unbelievable," Meghan muttered. She looked at the security team, then back at Kelly, then at the audience. For a moment, it seemed like she might say something else. Her mouth opened. She raised her finger as if to make one final point, then seemed to think better of it. Then she turned on her heel and stormed off the stage, her heels clicking sharply against the floor, each step echoing in the silent studio. The security team followed at a respectful distance, said never touching her, but making sure she found her way to the exit. Kelly stood there for a moment, watching her leave, her posture straight and strong. The moment the backstage door closed behind Meghan, Kelly's shoulders sagged slightly. Then she turned to the audience and let out a long, shaky breath. "Well," she said, and there was a slight tremble in her voice now, the adrenaline finally showing through. "That was not how I expected this morning to go. Not even close." The audience erupted in applause. It started with a few people in the front row and then built into a standing ovation that shook the rafters. People were cheering, clapping, some were even crying. Kelly's eyes got a little shiny, and she pressed her hand to her chest, overwhelmed by the support. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice barely audible over the applause. "Thank you so much. I'm actually shaking a little bit. Can you see my hands?" She held them up, and they were indeed trembling. People laughed, a warm sound that filled the studio and seemed to wrap around Kelly like a hug. Kelly took a deep breath and smiled, a real smile this time. "You know, I've been doing this job for a long time, and I love it. I love talking to people. I love hearing their stories. I love making people smile. And yes, sometimes I ask about workout routines and what people had for breakfast. Because you know what? That stuff matters too. Those little moments of connection, they matter." The applause continued. Someone shouted, "We love you, Kelly," and others joined in. "I love you guys too," Kelly said, her voice thick with emotion. "And I want to say something really important. Something I need you all to hear and to remember. You should never let anyone make you feel small for the work you do or the things that bring you joy. If watching a morning show makes you happy, that's wonderful. If you find comfort in simple pleasures, that's not shallow. That's human. There's room in this world for all kinds of voices and content. And anyone who makes you feel bad for finding happiness in simple things, they're the ones with the problem, not you." More applause. More cheers. Kelly wiped at her eyes quickly. Okay. We have a show to do, don't we? And you know what? We're going to have a great show, because that's what we do here." The audience laughed and clapped. Kelly looked at the camera, and her expression shifted into something more serious. "I do want to say one more thing, and then we're going to move on and have some fun. Disagreement is okay. Debate is okay. But cruelty is not. Talking down to people is not. And if you ever find yourself in a situation where someone is treating you with disrespect, you have every right to stand up for yourself. You have every right to say no. This isn't okay. Don't let anyone tell you that you have to accept poor treatment just because someone thinks they're important." She paused, letting that sink in. "All right," Kelly said, clapping her hands together. "We have an amazing show lined up for you. And I promise, our next guest is actually excited to be here." The audience laughed again, the tension finally breaking completely. Kelly sat back down on her couch, smoothing her skirt. Her hands were still shaking slightly, but her smile was genuine. "When we come back, we're going to talk to someone who's doing incredible work with animal rescue organizations. And I'm probably going to ask him what his favorite dog breed is. And you know what? I don't care if that's fluff, because it's going to be delightful." The audience cheered as the show cut to commercial. Backstage, Meghan was still fuming. She was on her phone, pacing back and forth. Her publicist stood nearby, looking mortified. "Did you see what she did to me?" Meghan was saying. "I want an apology. I want her fired." Her publicist tried to interject. "Maybe we should just leave quietly." Meghan whirled on her. "Move past this? Do you know who I am?" The publicist looked exhausted. "Yes. And right now, you're someone who just got kicked off a talk show for being rude." "Whose side are you on?" "I'm on the side of reality," the publicist said quietly. "You were out of line in there." "I can't believe this," Meghan said. "Everyone here is against me." "The whole thing was broadcast live," the publicist said. Meghan froze. Her face went pale. "What?" "It was a live show. Everything that just happened, millions of people watched it." For the first time, Meghan seemed to realize the gravity of the situation. Meanwhile, back on stage, Kelly was introducing her next guest with the same warmth she brought to every interview. The animal rescue advocate came out to applause, and when he sat down, Kelly smiled. "Thank you so much for being here. We're so glad to have you." He laughed. "After what I just saw, I'm honored to be here. And for the record, I think morning shows are great." Kelly laughed too. "I appreciate that more than you know." They dove into the interview, and it was everything a good segment should be. Warm, informative, entertaining. Kelly asked thoughtful questions, and silly ones. At one point, she asked what his favorite dog breed was. "Golden retrievers," he said. "They're just pure joy." "See?" Kelly said to the camera with a wink. "Sometimes the simple questions get the best answers." The audience ate it up. By the time the show wrapped, the internet was already exploding. Video clips were being shared thousands of times per minute. Kelly didn't see any of it yet. She was still on stage, hugging her crew members and thanking them. "You okay?" her co-host asked quietly. Kelly nodded. "Yeah, I am. That was intense. Oh, but I'm okay." "You were amazing," he said. "The way you handled that. I've never been more proud to work with you." Kelly hugged him tight. "Thanks. I was terrified, if I'm being honest." "Couldn't tell," he said with a grin. As the crew broke down the set, Kelly sat in her dressing room, finally alone. She looked at herself in the mirror and saw the same person who'd been hosting this show for over 20 years. A person who loved what she did. A person who respected her audience. A person who wasn't going to let anyone make her feel small. She took a deep breath and smiled at her reflection.